Great to be back with you all, and welcome to our devotional study. Today I'm going to deal with a very interesting and fascinating passage that is not easy to understand. It's in Luke chapter 16, and it's a parable that Jesus gives about a shrewd manager. Let me read some of it to you. Jesus told his disciples there was a rich man whose manager was accused of wasting his possessions. So he called him in and asked him, "What is this I hear about you? Give an account of your management, because you cannot be manager any longer." So the first thing we understand is the parable indicates a master has a manager working, and he's been accused of wasting his possessions, and he now has to give an account. The manager said to himself, "What shall I do now? My master's taken away my job. I'm not strong enough to dig, and I'm ashamed to beg. I know what I'll do so that when I lose my job here, people will welcome me into their houses." So he called in each one of his master's debtors. He asked the first, "How much do you owe my master?" 100 barrels of olive oil, he replied. The manager told him, "Take your bill, sit down quickly and make it 50. Then he asked the second, "And how much do you owe?" 100 bags of wheat, he replied. He told him, "Take your bill and make it 80. So far in the story, money is owed to the owner, the master, and yet the manager has halved their bills basically and said, "Listen, pay what you can. This is what I would like you to do." And obviously they were very grateful that they weren't pushed into further debt or there was anger. They were asked to pay a lesser amount and they would have paid up. So the money would have come in, not all the money. Is the owner going to be happy with that current deal? Let's look at the rest of the parable. The master commended the dishonest manager because he had acted shrewdly. For the people of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own kind than are the people of the light. I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourselves, so that when it is gone, you'll be welcomed into eternal dwellings. Fascinating passage now. So Jesus, giving the parable, says the master's happy with the deal. And I suppose it is a bit of a win-win. If he hadn't offered graciously the deal to the debtors, they might not have paid anything. So at least now they're happy. They've paid something. The owner or master's got something back, and he's been commended by the master. And Jesus then says the people of the world are much shrewder than the people of the light, the Christian. And so basically he's commended for his wisdom, his generosity in terms of showing grace. And as I say, it's a win-win. Pretty much everybody's happy. And he talks about using worldly wealth to gain friends. Now, that might sound pretty underhanded and selfish, that I'm going to use my money to try and buy friends. He's not saying that. He's saying when we show grace and are kind to others and are not tight in terms of wanting and demanding exactly what we owed, and we don't push our luck and show greed, Jesus is happy with that we show grace. We say, "Listen, this is all we're going to get out of this deal. It's not first prize, but let's go this particular route." That's often the best way to go for the believer. Let's carry on then and have a look what he says. "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. And whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. So if you have not been trustworthy in handling worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches? If you have not been trustworthy with someone else's property, who will give you property of your own?" Now again, that's an interesting one. It's saying that the Christian must be wise in dealing with worldly wealth. We can't squander everything and be wasteful and negligent and still stand up and claim that we're a great Christian. The Christian is a man who is wise in his dealing with worldly wealth and material possessions. And Jesus' comment is if you're good at dealing with your possessions, be they small or great, God will then trust you with spiritual riches. But if you've got a little and you still waste that, then he can't trust you. If you've got a lot and waste it, God can't trust you. So I think it's a challenge against rashness, quick decisions, unthought through, unprayed through decisions that actually are wasteful and negligent. And we've probably all been there. We've probably made deals, we've probably made decisions and lost money, sometimes through no fault of our own, but sometimes we've rushed into decision without any discussion, without much prayer, and the rest of the family looks upon us and think, well, you just wasted a whole lot of our family's money here. So the principle is, if you are wise and shrewd and show integrity and grace in your decisions regarding your wealth, your material possessions, God then can trust you with spiritual riches. And so again, it's a wise move that if I'm ever going to be used in admin or finance, even in a church or any Christian organization, I've got to be a person who shows great wisdom and integrity. I like the phrase win-win. I just look at this whole story and I think it's win-win. And Jesus has given the parable to teach us all to look after and be wise with our worldly possessions, not be wasteful, but always be gracious, not always demanding our right. It's not a turn the other cheek in the sense that I just get ripped off, but it means, okay, the best we can get out of this deal is so much. Let's negotiate, make the deal so that everyone's happy. It's a bit of an arbitration exercise, I would suggest. But everyone in this story walks away happy. The master's happy. This manager who up to now had been fairly wasteful and perhaps dishonest now makes some very wise and good decisions, and the master's happy with him, so he will retain his job. And finally, the debtors are all walk away thinking, well, that man was gracious. They're now his friends. It's win-win. And we've used our worldly wealth for relationships, which is what Jesus is speaking about. I think it's a great lesson. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you apply it in your own lives. Let's pray. Jesus, thank you for this teaching today. It's unusual. Help us to apply it and learn it in our business dealings, our dealings with our material wealth and our possessions. Give us great wisdom and grace as we do that. We ask for your strength to do it in Jesus' most precious name. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow.